This is driver 88, and you're in the market for a relatively new Ferrari. Something that's not classic and potentially an absolute nightmare, but something that's not brand new that you're getting absolutely bent over by a dealership. I may have the answer for you today, because somehow the 488 GTB is now 10 years old. And we're going to take it for a drive today. We're going to see whether that car is potentially still a really, really good buy. 458s, you might think, are an option instead. A good mix of old and new and an NA engine. But those prices have shot up so much, and the 488 GTB is possibly the best value modern Ferrari you can buy. We're going to try and answer that question today. This is driver 88. Let's go. This is now 10 years old. What do you think of the aesthetics? Personally, I think it has aged incredibly well. It's undeniably a Ferrari, and I think for a lot of people who weren't super into cars like you and I, they could be told that this was 1 year old and they wouldn't know the difference. This is the first Manzoni car of the mid-engine V8 range, and this, to the 458, to the 296, to the Tributo, which is your favorite? I kind of lean towards the Tributo, because this is kind of a little bit understated to me. I love them in white though, with yellow calipers is my favorite spec. Now, speaking of 10 years old, that is well past, of course, the total 5-year commercial warranty. Here in Australia though, you can extend the full power warranty out to 15 years. So even if you buy one of these, which is 10 years old, you still have 4 to 5 years worth of warranty that you can pay extra for in 1, 2, or 3 year segments. So it certainly gives you a lot more peace of mind compared to a number of other brands out there. Now, 10 years ago, some people were a little bit concerned about strapping turbos to a V8, but the F154 was an absolute revelation 10 years ago. 99 more horsepower and over 200 Newton meters more than the 458, and that car is obviously no slouch. 0 to 100 in 3.0 seconds if you can get these 305s hot and sticking to the ground. Top speed of well over 300 kilometers per hour, 10.3 quarter mile if you can do it. But it was no slouch on the track either. So this obviously ran up against the Huracan at the time, the 610, and 7 out of the 8 independent track tests I could find, this has the Huracan soundly beaten. Now, this engine started in the California T, and 10 years later, today, we're going to see probably the very last version of it in the Spider XX SF90, and that is coming to the channel in a month or two and has over 800 horsepower. This one has 661, so really excited to see that. And to add to that, of course, the McLaren 650S at the time was really pushing Ferrari ahead in the competition stakes and the power stakes. 169 horsepower per litre was a record for Ferrari at the time, and in independent testing, I can see that the 488 in a number of other track tests also beat the 650S, even though I'm a huge McLaren fan. Now, this being twin turbo, the noise has changed a bit. We've recently tried the F8 Tributo as well as the 296 GTB. So let's hear all 3 of those cars to see which one you think sounds best. One of the great things about the 488 at the time was that this car is essentially dailyable if you don't have terrible hips or back and you're not over 6'1". This car has 18 different options on it, and you wouldn't particularly know it, but you kind of need at least 18 options on these cars if you're looking for them. You want those shields, you want electric seats, you want parking sensors, and you want a reversing camera for peace of mind. Speaking of daily use though, the front end section is pretty large. You could easily fit enough for luggage for 2 people, another significant other, on a decent road trip. I love stitched Cavalinos. I really hate to see a Ferrari with stitched cavalinos not on those headrests. That's also on this car. I like yellow calipers on these, but red is also an option. We've got a carbon steering wheel. But one thing myself and Carter really don't particularly like in most Ferraris is having the silver interior sort of ornaments around the place. If you can tick them as carbon, that would be great, because the silver does sort of scratch very, very easily with your keys. Welcome to the 488 GTB interior. This is such a lovely steering wheel. I always like Ferrari steering wheels because they're thin, not stupidly fat like BMWs. You've got the lovely Manettino, you've got carbon, we've got a red and white stitch interior here with the cavalinos. Lovely. One thing that I don't particularly like is, as I said, this silver, it kind of scratches a bit too easily. We do have potentially sticky buttons on our electric seats, but nowhere else. One thing that you will find in a GTB sometimes is, look at this, blast from the past, a CD player. Did you know that CD players play 3 to 4 times a higher quality of music than Spotify? The more you know. Look, it's very, very easy to get used to this interior. I used to own a 720S, and I have a lot more headroom and easier to get in and out than a 720S than this, but it's not terrible. I'm 180 centimeters and my head is not hitting the roof. Now, let's see what she sounds like. These buttons, I mean, they're okay. Everyone's always complained about these buttons here, but you don't sort of use them a lot. One thing that I do like is that you can lift your car very, very quickly, and that is an option that you would want to have picked on every single 488. So recently I've had on the channel the F8 Tributo and the 750S, and you can definitely feel that this is not at the pace of those cars, just a little bit off. But I mean, for the money, if you're going to save 100 or 200 grand on getting one of these instead, I mean, you're not missing out on much. This is monstrously powerful, and it does scare you just a little bit when the tires are cold, particularly if you put some Cup 2s on the rear or some Trofeo Rs. It'll spin them up so easily. Now, if warranty is not your bag, these 488s are known to respond incredibly well to a tune and a downpipe or a catback. You can easily get well over 700 horsepower from just a few mods. I'm not the biggest fan of Ferrari steering, but other people love it because it's so responsive. And there's a reason why a lot of people crash their Ferraris, especially these in pistas, because you have all of the torque available at 3000 RPM, super twitchy steering. I won't be doing that today, but that is the reason why so many people crash these cars. Also, when you do CT off. The great thing about these cars, much like most modern supercars these days, is you can enjoy it day-to-day cruising along like it's nothing, and then it can turn into an absolute animal spitting you sideways at a moment's notice. Just huge performance, massive. This car, you can certainly feel a little bit of weight. It's 1,550 kilos with my fat ass in it, a little bit more than that, but the nose is definitely quite pointy. So if there's one thing that stands out to me in driving the GTB, it is the far, far superior sound in the exhaust of this car compared to the F8 Tributo and the 296. Now, you might think that that's pretty obvious, but around this year period of 2018 is when all cars started to sound a lot quieter because they had to have OPFs and extra mufflers and filters and things to make the exhausts so much quieter. This car definitely wins the rev battle so far. It's incredibly comfortable to drive day to day. There's not a huge amount of lumbar support or side support in the seats, so a track day could be a little bit precarious if you're pushing the car hard, because there's nothing to push against either side of me. Performance, of course, with this 7-speed is it's out of this world. It's so quick. This is around the year when gearboxes got incredibly fast, just stupidly fast, as a Captiva starts to tailgate me for some reason. I find paddles not on the steering wheel is not my favorite, but much like the indicators, you get used to them very, very quickly. The other great thing about these cars is there's no supercar drawbacks of decades ago, because you've got heaps of visibility to the back and the side of you. You get to look at that great engine bay, but also see there's pretty much no blind spot in this car at all. So how's the turning circle? Not amazing, but not bad.
Now let's do some quick used market analysis for our market here in Australia. Now there are 14 coupes for sale and there's 11 Spiders. Of those 14 coupes, of course 8 of them are red. The rest of them are mostly black. There's some white, like the example that we drove today from Cavallo Prestige, and that has the lowest kilometers of all the cars for sale. Most of those cars are from 2018, and that sticker price, we do pay enormous amounts of money for cars here due to taxes and stamp duty. That sticker price in 2018 was $512,000. Now most of these cars would probably have $50,000 worth of options. And if I take all those 14 cars, the average asking price is $500K, which is nice and easy to remember. So over that time period, we've lost about 11%, which is quite good, but we have a very small and very strong market here in Australia. Also, I've noticed that with Ferraris, there's this one ridiculous outlier, which is 120 grand above all the others that I sort of took out from that data due to just being irrelevant. There's always one Ferrari owner that seems to think that their car is worth so much more than everyone else's for some very innocuous reasons. And then it just sits for sale for 18 months to 2 years and never ever sells. Yeah.
So the 488 GTB, I cannot believe that this car is now 10 years old. You really wouldn't know it. As a used proposition, look, they are quite plentiful in most markets around the world. You can get them in all sorts of specs. You can still get them with a warranty as well. And I think they still look fantastic. They've got huge amounts of performance. I mean, you can't really go wrong with a 488 GTB. Or would you rather a Hurricane 610? We've got a video on that as well, because that car also recently turned 10 years old. This is Driver 88. We'll see you next time.